Today we're bringing on Rod Khleif, an incredible real estate investor, and I'm not even gonna bother giving you the whole lowdown. Instead, I'm gonna let Rod do it because he's got a way better voice than me. So, Rod, welcome to the show. How are you
Oh,
doing
thanks,
today?
Daniel. It's great to meet you, brother. We're gonna have some fun today. So yeah, so let me I'll tell a little bit of my story, and then yeah, I know you want to talk about the economic situation that's going on right now, which is on everybody's mind. So we'll have a lot of fun with that. So I'm an immigrant. I was born in the Netherlands. You know, think wooden shoes, windmills. Immigrated when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's Vansha. We ended up in Denver, Colorado, where I lived for 30 years. But when we first got there, we really struggled. So, I remember eating expired food, and we shopped at an expired food store, which they actually had back then. We drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning, because it was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, it sounds better than it is. We wore clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till I finally got disgusted, lied about my age, and got a job at Burger King when I was 14 because I was tall, and so I could buy my own clothes finally. And now, listen, I know you got listeners that had it harder than I did or have it harder now, but I knew I wanted more. And luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And with her babysitting money, we always had a house full of kids. With her babysitting money, she was a bit of an entrepreneur, invested in IPOs in the stock market, but also invested in real estate. Now, her first real estate acquisition was the house right across the street from us. When I was about 14, she paid $30,000. When I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep, that had gone up in value that much in her sleep. And I'm like, what? You made 20 grand, you didn't do anything? Screw college, I'm getting into real estate. And so I went out and got my real estate broker's license right when I turned 18, which you could do back then with education. You know, I could have my own office. Now they got smart to be able to be a broker. You have to have some experience, but I could be a broker. Well, my first year in real estate, I still lived at home. I made about 8 grand. My second year, I maybe made about 10 grand. But my third year, I made over $100,000, which back in 1980 was some pretty decent change. So what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I was smart enough to go work for a broker, and I was dating his daughter. And he taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology, and how really 80 to 90% of your success in anything is your mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is this, the mechanical information we talk about on our podcast. It's the doing, it's the keep doing, it's the pushing through fear, it's the pushing through limiting beliefs, it's the getting uncomfortable. And so, fast forward to today, I've owned 2,000 houses that I've rented long-term in 3 states. I own thousands of apartment units. I've built 27 businesses so far in my career. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might say, wow. And I said, wow. And I got a head so freaking big, I could barely fit it through a door. I thought I was a real estate god. And when that happens, God of the universe will give you a nice little beat down. Well, that was 2008. I lost $50 million in 2008. And so, and the reason I bring this up is, I talk about on my podcast and at my boot camps, the mindset it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place. And then the mindset it took equally as important, or maybe more important, to recover from losing everything. People killed themselves for losing that much money, in the Great Depression and in 2008 and 9, jumped off buildings. So, that's kind of what I'm known for in my brand. And I have a podcast called Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. We just broke 14 million downloads, which just blows my mind. But
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. But in what's coming, mindset is going to be critical, because I will tell you, shifting over to the economic environment, I know that the media has a huge controlling political influence, political control. And I'm in firm believer that once the midterms are over, you're going to see some real pain come out on headlines. It's been kind of buried. I don't know if you saw about a month ago, there are 22 million households in this country behind on their utility bills. 22 million households, okay? Staggering. The number of foreclosures that are queued up, ready to go, is staggering, okay? And, people like Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, love him or hate him, Trump, have all said it's going to be a bigger crash than people think. And so I believe it. I'm very bearish. I think it's going to be very, very ugly. Inflation is insane. Gas prices are insane. The supply chain issues are insane. And so, there's going to be pain. But here's the important thing to remember. With crisis comes opportunity. There's going to be incredible opportunity. If you listen to my podcast, I've interviewed the largest multifamily operators on the planet. I focus on multifamily, and you start to hear a pattern. Most of the men and women that have 5,000 units or more started in 2009, 2010, 2011, and 12. That's what we call a clue. Okay, there's going to be incredible opportunity. Everything's going on sale. Everything. So what I will say to you is pick your freaking vehicle right now. If it's going to be single family, if it's going to be multifamily, it's going to be buying businesses, if it's going to be investing in stocks, and get up to speed absolutely as fast as you can. If it's multifamily, I'll give your peeps a hell of a deal if they want. If I don't know when this will air, if you can air it soon enough, but I've got a virtual boot camp coming up October 15th and 16th. It's 2 full days of training. I don't sell anything there, and I'll tell you guys how to come for $97. So for $100, you can spend 16 to 18 hours learning multifamily from me. But I don't care if it's from me. Learn it now, because here's the thing: if you're trying to learn in the midst of this downturn, it's going to be too late, because you have to start building relationships now. You have to learn how to analyze deals now. You have to, get up to speed. You have to become competent, and that takes some time. And so pick your vehicle and get up to speed as fast as you can, because, I will tell you, if I hadn't been hiding under a rock in 2008 and 9, licking my wounds, I thought I was set for life. I'd be on the back of a 300-foot yacht right now. No question. There's no question I could have massively capitalized on what happened. But, I was licking my wounds, like I said. Not this time, brother. I got crushed by the wave in 08 and 9. I'm surfing that bad boy this time. So... And I'm going to tell you, if you don't get sucked into the fear and you stay focused on what you want, and so if you'd like, I can talk about mindset for a moment and talk about some of the strategies that people can implement to get through this in a positive way. You want me to do that?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take a moment here to talk about that mindset, because it's like you're saying, most people, if they lost $50 million, I mean, they're done. I mean, they're going to give up. They're going to go hide under a rock. I can't even imagine losing that much money. Most people, if they lost $5,000 or $10,000, I mean, they're done. They're wiped. You lost 50 million, but here you are again today. You've built businesses. You're back at it again. So I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean,
well, I call them seminars.
Mindset.
I call them seminars, okay? Because it's only a failure if you don't get your ass back up or you don't get the lesson, okay?
Yeah.
And so like I said, I've built 27 businesses, several worth tens of millions of dollars. Most have been spectacular flaming seminars, okay? And we fail our way to success. And if you're not failing, you're really not trying. If you're totally honest with yourself. I got to meet the billionaire owner of Spanx, the women's undergarments, hold everything together. Her name's Sarah Blakely, beautiful human being, but she started with $5,000, and she was in Forbes as a billionaire a few episodes, a few magazine months ago. I get that magazine. I'm trying to think of what the issues ago. Anyway, but I got to meet her at a mastermind, and she told me something which really stuck with me, and that is her dad used to ask her and her brother once a week, what have you failed at this week? And I thought, what a freaking awesome question to ask your kids, so they don't fear failure. I'm going to tell you this. Don't fear failure if you're listening to this. Fear being in the same place you are right now a year from now, unless you absolutely freaking love where you are right now, right? But here's the thing. If you come to my boot camp, the first hour and a half is spent on goal setting on steroids, because how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? You got to know what it is you want and why you want it. Because you've got to create what Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, calls a burning desire. You've got to want it. That's how you're going to push through the fear that's coming, or the fear that may already be here for you. Okay. You've got to figure out what it is you want. Now, if you can't come to my boot camp, if you go to rodslinks.com, rods plural, links plural.com, or you can just text links to 72345. If you're driving, text links to 72345. At the bottom of that link tree, that's my link tree. It's got all my social media, a ton of free resources, books, and my podcast and boot camp. But at the bottom is the goal setting workshop. I did it on New Year's Day. I do it every New Year's. It's free. There's a guide you can download with music. So, here's the thing, Daniel. people spend more time planning a Christmas party than they do designing their freaking lives. This is designing your life. So grab your spouse, go to Rod's Links. If you can't do the boot camp, go to rodslinks.com. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. None of that. Just go there, do the goal setting workshop. If you've got kids over 10 years old, have them do it and get clear on what it is you want, because that's where your focus needs to be in what's coming. If you get sucked into the media, the news, you're done, because whatever you focus on gets larger, both positive and negative. So we won't get started on all the crap they're putting out there publicly. But the point is, you've got to stand guard at your mind. And if you're listening to this, you're a leader. And by God, as a leader, your focus is critical. So you've got to stand guard at your mind. Every week on my podcast, I do a clip called Own Your Power, which is a motivational clip. It's 5 minutes. You give me 5 minutes a week, I will juice you. There's music. I'm really proud of them. There's hundreds of them there. But even if it's not me, go to YouTube, take down motivational clips. Stay positive, because it's going to be super critical in what's coming. So it starts with a burning desire, okay? You figure out what it is you want, and that's how you push through fear and limiting beliefs. For example, let me give you an example of limiting beliefs. When I immigrated to this country, I didn't speak English, and I got thrown into school, and I found out what bullies were for the first time. And, so I got my butt kicked regularly. And then, I remember my mom sent me to school, and I've got them actually right here because I show these at my boot camp. My mom sent me to school in these wooden shoes and these leather shorts the Germans wear for October. These are the actual ones, because we found them when we put my mom and his sister
had to hold on to them, right?
Oh yeah. And so I got sent to school in those, so I got my ass kicked again the next, that day. And then the bullies would chase me home from school, and my mom would chase them off with a fly swatter. So the next day I got a butt kicking. And so I came up with this belief system that I wasn't good enough. And I used to ask myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? Which obviously presupposed that I wasn't. And so a lot of people have these limiting belief systems. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I'm not analytical enough. That was another one of mine. There's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99% of them are BS, but you've got to have that burning desire to push through them. And then the next piece is you got to make a decision. You've got to decide you're not going to settle any longer. Now, when I say decision, I mean it is freaking done. It's not dipping a toe in the water. It's not putting one foot in, one foot out. I mean, an example of a real decision would be you're going to attack the island. You're burning your ships because you're taking their ships home. That's a freaking decision, okay? That's what I mean. It's complete 100% commitment. And when you're committed, you're like a train on a track. If you're just interested, you're going to get knocked off track. Okay. And when you're committed, it's no longer a dream. It's an outcome. See, motivation will get you started, but commitment's what's going to bring you home. And so, and it can't be 99%. It's got to be 100%. And when you make that decision, it's done. But then you got to take that first step. Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith, the next step will be revealed. Lao Tzu said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And sometimes that single step can be the most important step of your life, okay? And, I get a lot of analytical people on my podcast, that have to check off every single box before they make a move. And if that's you, if you're honest with yourself, that's you. I want you to think of this analogy. You can drive all the way across the United States at night with your headlight only seeing 40 feet in front of you, and that's all you can see, but you can make it the whole way. Yes, you may have some obstacles, you may have some setbacks, but you'll make it. Other people have done it. It's the same way with any one of your goals and dreams, but you got to take that first step, okay? And so that's the next thing. And then as you push forward, especially in what's coming, you've got to have positive expectation and optimism. It's so easy to focus on pain. In fact, as human beings, we connect through pain. If you came up to me and said, hey, Rod, how you doing? I said, oh my God, I am freaking amazing. Life is fantastic. You take a couple steps back and say, Rod's off his
What's
freaking
wrong
meds.
with you? You can't be that happy.
Rod's off his meds, right? But if I said, you came up and said, how you doing? I said, oh God, I hurt my back working out yesterday. I lost 10,000 in the market. You'd put your arm around me and say, oh, I feel you, brother. We connect through pain. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So it's really important that you don't do that you focus on positivity, optimism. When you make a decision that what you want and you declare it, I'm going to tell you, God or the universe, whatever you believe, will conspire to help you make it happen. When you expect amazing things, you will get amazing things. So, just remember that. But like I said, you've got to really get in tune with this to push through all the fear and those limiting beliefs. And then one more thing, and then you can interject if you want, or stop me anytime, honestly. But focus is also super critical. I talked about that because whatever you focus on is going to get bigger, positive or negative. And I get excited about my 14 million downloads. I listen to two podcasts. I listen to Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss, and I get kind of both sides of the aisle there. But Tim Ferriss interviews the best of the best, and he gets about 14 million a week is the reason I bring that up. 14 million downloads a week. I mean, huge show. And he interviews, billionaires like Ray Dalio and CEOs of the biggest companies on the planet, Zuckerberg, and so on and so forth. And NFL players, Michael Phelps, athletes, best of the best in every walk of life, okay? Athletes, actors, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ed Norton, Jamie Foxx, Hugh Jackman, the best of the best. And he deconstructs that success. And the reason I bring this up is I started to hear a pattern. Most of them meditate. What does meditation enhance? Focus, right? So focus is critical. And, the most successful people on the planet have the highest degree of focus. And you maximize your focus by minimizing decisions. You'll notice that if you ever see me speaking live, and pretty much on every podcast, I'll be in one of these ugly black V-neck t-shirts because I don't want to think I minimize my decisions. Now, here's another problem. I don't know about you, but I'll be watching Netflix or some stupid crap on TV, and I'll be scrolling through social media. Here's what's bad about that. Your brain is making those little micro decisions every split second, and it kills your focus. So just remember that. And if you can enhance, if you can bring some meditation into your life, there's some great apps on iPhones that you can use to meditate. You can put a time limit on there. I use one called Pazizz. Free shout out to them, Pzizz. You can set a time. It'll put you to sleep or it'll help you meditate. That will help you with the focus thing. And then, then the next piece is you got to play to your strengths. Okay. You've got to, you don't want to focus on your weaknesses. See, the multifamily real estate space is a team sport, and there are lots of different hats you can wear, but you can't wear them all. So if you're the analytical person, you do the underwriting. If you're the outgoing person, you build the relationships with the brokers and find deals, or with investors. If you're process driven, you're great with management. You could be the asset manager after a property's bought, but you want to play to your strengths because your strengths are your greatest assets. Forget about maximizing your weaknesses. You want to hire, align, or partner for your weaknesses. Here's why. Because if you're playing in your strengths, you're going to love what you're doing. And if you're playing in your strengths, you're going to have passion. And passion is critical because in any business, be it multifamily real estate or any real estate endeavor or entrepreneurship endeavor, passion is needed so you can influence people. And the only way you're going to influence is with that passion. And when you love what you do, you're going to have that passion and the ability to influence. And that passion, basically is the fuel. So don't settle, don't play small, discover what juices you and inspires you, and make sure that you do that, because, that passion breeds creativity. It breeds innovation. It minimizes or even eliminates fear. And so that's critically important. And the last one I'll talk about, if you'll humor me a little longer, I know is the importance of your peer group. Okay. Who you hang out with is who you become. You show me your 3 best friends, I'll show you who you are, every aspect of your life, your health, your happiness, your finances, everything. So, that who you hang out with is probably the biggest decision of your life, because that is going to dictate your life, both professionally and personally. Now, I want to be around people that lift me up and encourage me, especially in what's coming. Okay. And, like a rising tide lifts all ships. You could have people here's the problem. Most people default to peers that they work with or they went to school with, and they may not be the best choices. Okay. Sometimes they will hold you back out of their fear, or their limiting beliefs, or their fear of feeling less than, or their fear of, being embarrassed if you succeed. And sometimes it's family. And which is when it's really challenging. But I'm going to tell you, love your family, but proactively choose your peers. Get around people that want more out of life. Okay. People that think what you think is hard is easy. Okay. If you're going to play tennis, you want to play somebody that's better than you or somebody that's worse than you. Right. So it's super important to get in that kind of a group. If you come to my boot camp, we'll connect you with people. But regardless, go to your local meetups, get around people that want to do whatever it is that you want to do. And and that are not afraid of
Yeah.
success, that will
And
validate
that's
you.
one of those things that people are always like, well, how do I find these people? And it's
Hmm.
like, well, first of all, take that first step. Like you were saying, it all comes together. Take that first step towards what
Hmm.
you want to do, what you're passionate about. Take the first step. And then people are always saying, I don't know what I want to do, or I don't know what I'm great at. I don't know my strengths. Well, once you take that first step, you're going to figure it out pretty quick,
Yeah.
because you're going
Yeah.
to have to wear all the hats when you first get started. And
Right.
when you realize, oh, I have to wear all the hats, that's when you're going to say, all right, I need peers who are better than me to help me, because I don't want to wear these hats.
Yeah.
And
No,
then you're going to start.
yeah, no, I've got students. I've got about 100 and I'm sorry, I got about 1,200 around the country, 1,200 coaching students, and they own well in excess of 90,000 units now, which just blows
Yeah.
my mind. I've only been teaching 5 years, but the reason I bring that up is most of those units were done between warriors. They're called my warriors, my mentorship students, and they were done
And they
between
took
students.
that step. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they build those connections and build those teams. And then you've also got to have tenacity and grit, okay? Because you're going to get your nose bloodied. You can't give up. I mean, when I lost everything in 2008 and 9, I built a litigation support company, and it almost went bankrupt in 2010. But I pivoted and I innovated, and I didn't give up, and it turned into a $10 million company with 60 employees that I sold a few years ago. So you've got to have that strength of character, that strength of will, bravery, backbone, fortitude, tenacity. I will tell you that not giving up will beat talent almost all the time. Okay. Yeah. And, there's a book called 3 Feet from the Gold, which about a miner that gave up 3 feet from a big gold vein, and somebody came in and found it, and that's the same thing with your goals. Just don't give up, keep going. So.
Yeah, and that story, it's almost depressing, but if you read deeper into that minor story as well, he learned from that experience, and he later on became an incredibly successful salesman, because what he learned from that is don't take no, like keep going ahead. And he ended up making tons of money because of that mistake. And I mean, that's exactly what you've done. I mean,
Yeah.
you made a huge mistake in
Oh,
08.
I've made so many mistakes, man. I made a
More
mistake.
mistakes than
I made
that,
a mistake yesterday with my wife and got my butt kicked. So it's that's just life.
That was probably
if you're not making mistakes. Oh, that was the worst. Trust me. But if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying. Just be honest with yourself. You're just not. And I will tell you, mistakes and failures are and these setbacks are feedback, and you need them. I mean, how do you grow and learn if you don't make them? Like Henry Ford said, an airplane takes off against the wind. I didn't know they had airplanes back then, but that's his quote, so they must have. But, without problems, we don't change. There's a quote, Tony Robbins quote, setbacks and shakeups are wake-ups, right? And again, if you don't have problems, you're not trying. And problems are absolute learning opportunities. Like if you come to my boot camp, on Monday after the boot camp, you will get a survey that says, how did we do? And of course, 99.9% of the feedback's positive, but I'm looking for that 0.1% that we can improve on. But yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's incredibly powerful. And you keep talking about what's coming. And before we really start to get into that, I want to talk about the peer group that you have is going to determine your actions during this downturn. You're either going to have a peer group who is telling you everything's falling to shambles, hide your money, hide in a bunker, everything's falling apart, or a peer group who's going to say, and I know you're going to start saying this, opportunities are coming, you need to be ready.
They're already here. They're already here.
What they're whispering, what you're being told in each year, or what you're being told, that's how you're going to act.
Yep.
If you're acting out of a place of fear, you're probably going to lose. If you're acting out of a place of leadership, success, fortitude, like you were saying, that's where you're going to find it. So let's talk a little bit about.
Let me expand on what you just said, though, just for a split second, because I've got a great story. So back in 2008 and 9, when I was losing everything, I was in Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership, which is his high-level mastermind. It's about 130 grand back then. And I was around people that were thriving through the crash, okay? They were killing it. And they're like, oh, yeah, puss, get up, 50 million schmillion, go make shit happen, okay? That's who you want to be around and what's coming, right? Okay, so just to hammer home your point is all. So please continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's the exact type of people that you want to be surrounding yourself. The people are saying there's opportunities. It's not the end of the world. And the media, everything is going to tell you it's time to give up, it's time to back down, and it's so easy to get sucked up into that.
And that's going to get really pervasive after the election. I'm just telling you, I'm certain of it. So
it's only going to get worse. So what are some of the what I want to ask is, in '08, you got steamrolled.
Yeah.
How are you preparing for what's coming now? Because
Hmm.
I'm of the belief, like you are, that they're
Great
going to get
question.
worse before they get better.
Great question. So how do you get ready? So the first thing is pick your vehicle. Decide how you're going to capitalize on
Yeah.
what's coming. Like I said, multifamily, come see me. But whatever it is, get up to speed right now.
Mm-hmm.
Conserve cash, okay? Conserve all your money right now. I spoil my wife rotten. She never expects anything, but she's got a few $100,000 in her closet. I told her that's stopping. The purses and the sunglasses and the shoes is stopping for a while, and she's cool, of course. She never expects anything. Like I said, beautiful soul, but we're not spending money. I'm conserving a lot of cash. I'm in a lot of cash right now because cash is king, and it kills me because it's getting eaten up by inflation. But in a crash, cash is king. Now, but let me say this to you. If you don't have a lot of money and you don't have the ability to conserve a lot of money, here's the beautiful thing about at least my business, multifamily, is like I said, it takes money to do multifamily, but it doesn't have to be your own money. There's so much money looking for a home, but you've got to get started and start building those relationships. And I teach that at my boot camp, is how to pre-frame your investors so they're not fearful when it gets really ugly.
Yeah.
But those are two things. Educate yourself, get around the right group, conserve your cash, really buckle down and learn whatever vehicle you're going to use as fast as you can. And like I said, my boot camp's $97 if you want to do multifamily, and I don't sell anything. So it's kind of a duh if you're interested in that. But regardless, go learn it.
Yeah. So, have some cash on you, get ready,
Learn.
learn what sphere you want,
Build
and learn it
relationships.
well.
Build relationships.
Yeah.
Because it's a relationship business. And you'll be poised to capitalize on what's coming, and it could be they're saying it could be the greatest transfer of wealth in our lifetimes. We're talking legacy wealth for your family, your kids, their kids, their kids, and their kids. That's what's coming. So, and I believe it. I actually believe this is going to be as bad as '08 and '09. So,
So talk a little bit about that. Why is it the greatest wealth transfer of all time? Or
well,
potentially?
because everything's going to go on sale, and so a lot of stuff is going to go upside down and fail. A lot of businesses are going to fail. A lot of real estate is going to fail. A lot of real estate is going to go back to banks and lending institutions, and there will be incredible opportunity to buy things for cents on the dollar. Stocks as well. I don't know a thing about stocks. I tried to invest once, 20 grand, lost it, and said, done. I'm not doing it again. And that's another point. Okay, if you're going to invest in something, for God's sakes, learn it. Even if you're going to invest passively in somebody else's deal, which is very common in the multifamily space and a great way to start. Right now I've got an incredible asset in Nashville that we're raising money for. Very conservative, 60% loan to value loan on it. So very low loan, a 10-year fixed interest rate. And incredible returns even with that low loan to value, which is very unusual. Like we've got 10% cash on cash, 19% IRR, and 20 to 20% AAR. So great opportunity there. If you're interested in checking that out, text partner to 72345. But here's the thing. Even if you're going to invest, learn what you're going to invest in. If you're going to invest in the stock market, study it. If you're going to invest even passively in multifamily, come to my boot camp and at least have a basic understanding of what you're investing in. Okay. Because there's been a lot of greed the last couple of years. Okay. And, Warren Buffett's famous quote, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. Right. There's been a lot of greed these last couple of years, and there's going to be a lot of fear the next couple. And so, that's a very relevant quote right now. And, a lot of guys did deals that were skinny in my space, did put terrible bridge debt on those deals, and they're going to have some problems. And there's going to be opportunity for people like myself to come in and snap up deals. So, it's going to be painful.
I completely agree. Let's talk about this a little bit though. If you're holding right now and you're worried about what's coming, do you need to rush to sell, or what are you looking at in that scenario?
That ship has sailed. Okay, that ship has sailed. I would not sell right now. It's unless you've really got a problem asset. If you have a C- or D asset, I would get out as fast as you can, because that demographic that rents those types of assets is what's going to get hit the hardest initially. Okay. Look at inflation. Look at the price of gas. I think I mentioned 22 million families behind in the utilities. 22 million families I mean, think about that number for a minute. It's
Yeah.
insane. And so, and that's going to be the lower income families. And so if you've got a lower income asset, if you can bail, even if you're going to lose some money, get out, because it's going to get uglier. Now, AB assets will probably be okay. And see, here's the thing. When I lost everything in 2008 and 9, it was my single family that pulled me down. I had 800 houses and I had multiple apartment complexes. It was the houses that pulled me down. My
Hmm.
multifamily did just fine. It pulled back, but it could have easily survived. But Rod, in his infinite wisdom, cross-collateralized packages of houses with his multifamily to save 50 basis points, 0.5%
Mix and
interest.
match. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I lost it all. But I have T-shirts that I sell at my live events. I had 850 people in Denver a couple of months ago, but I have T-shirts that say #Ask Me How I Know, because I've made every freaking mistake you can make. So it's like, don't do that. Ask me how I know. And one of my students got me that shirt, and now we said, hell, we're going to sell those. Those are awesome. So the point is, the beautiful thing about multifamily is it can survive a significant downturn as long as you're not too aggressive, like has been the last couple of years. Okay, you put low loan to value debt on it, you get fixed rate financing, not adjustable rate, and you're good. And you don't overpay. We're very conservative. In the last year, I bought one asset in San Antonio September a year ago. This Nashville deal I was just talking about, screaming deal I was mentioning. And there's still some slots left, by the way. If you're interested, text partner to 72345. But that's the only one I bought since then, because it opened up just in the last couple of months. We're like, holy cow, this is a deal. And so we didn't get sucked into that greed. But it's going to get better. It's going to get even better.
So yeah, tell us this then, Rod. I mean, it's gonna get better. You're in cash. You're waiting for the opportunities to come. How do you and your team know when it's time? Like,
Well,
what are your criteria?
Well, listen, our criteria is very sound. We are very conservative in our underwriting.
Yeah.
We stress test a deal ad nauseum. What's our break-even cash flow? How vacant can we be to afford this? How much we always have at minimum 6 months expenses as operating reserves in the bank. We don't touch it. So we're very, very conservative. And of course, we have to raise that money, and all the money you raise, the more you raise, it impacts your abilities to have good returns, right? Which is why the last couple of years, people were using bridge debt because they could get high loan to value. See, the conforming agency debt like Freddie and Franny, they had dropped their loan to value. And so so they were using this bridge debt, which really wasn't made for that purpose. It was made to bridge the debt, provide financing between a non-performing asset, and then you get it performing, and then you refinance with conforming debt. Well, people abused it and used it just to take down deals so they could show higher returns to their investors. But that debt, first of all, it's adjustable. Okay, bridge loans are adjustable. It's short term, 3 years normally. It can sometimes be 3-1-1, where you got 5 years. But I will tell you, and very often you had to pay for a rate cap, but that's typically a 2% rate cap. Let me tell you, 2% on a 10, 20, $30 million deal, 2% increase in debt is staggering. Okay, it can kill you. Okay, and a lot of these guys did these skinny deals, and I think there's going to be I know there's going to be a reckoning. I know there is. Even if it's just a recession, there's going to be a reckoning. I think it's going to be worse than that. But so. Did I answer? I forgot what your question was. I kind of went off on a tangent there.
Yeah, no, yeah. We were just talking about how do you know when to strike? When is the iron hot?
Right. Well, I mean, I will tell you, we underwrite dozens of deals a month, and so, and people say, should I wait to buy? I get that all the time. Well, I'm closing on a deal in 2 weeks. Okay, that's one I was just talking about. Maybe 3 weeks, but it's set to close with loans. We got loan approval; it's ready to go. But if the numbers make sense, see, my business, the multifamily real estate business, is numbers. It's empirical. If you get the numbers right and you ask all the right questions, it's pretty hard to make a significant mistake. And so, that's what we do. We go through a whole underwriting process. And if it pencils out and it's conservative and we've got a lot of wiggle room and so on and so forth, we'll put stuff under contract every single day. But, I'm anticipating distressed assets coming online. And this deal we bought wasn't a distressed asset. It was $1 billion operator, just wanted to get out of Nashville. It was their only remaining asset there. And so, we got a great deal. They just wanted out. their deals are just going to continue to get better and better. So I guess my point is there is no like line demarcation point. There's no line in the sand. You should be learning right now, studying deals, evaluating
Know when
deals,
it works.
getting
Yeah.
up to speed. And if it works, you do it. If it doesn't, you don't. And you're not
Have you
aggressive.
become more conservative?
Oh God, yeah, yeah. So of course we have. One of the calculations you do when you evaluate a deal is you look at your exit cap rate. See, typically you'll do something on a 5-year horizon. So you'll look at a 5-year window and you'll do a pro forma, and you're going to have a liquidation event within that 5-year period of either a refinance or a sale. And so you're going to need to figure out what the cap rate is at that time, because that's going to dictate the value that you're going to be able to place on that place to get your financing, for example, or to get your sale. And people are aggressive with that. Now, see, we do 25 basis points a year there, 20 to 25. We used to do 10. Okay. Now, what that means is there's 100 basis points in a percent of interest. Okay. It's the same in a cap rate. So, if you do 10% a year, then you're assuming the cap rate when you exit will be 0.5% higher, right? But right now we're doing 20 to 25%. So we've doubled it and almost 2.5 times it in some cases, so that when we do sell or refinance, we can, we can get the value that we need to effectuate that refinance or effectuate that sale. And I'm going to tell you, here's the definition of a bad day. You've got a cash flowing asset that making money. It's a nice asset, and you didn't time that refinance well or that sale well, and the cap rates have gone up, and you can't get the value that you need to accomplish that. That's a bad day. And I think there's going to be a lot of bad days, because if you look at a graph of what happened with interest rates back in 08 and 9, of course, they lumped up really high. Well, so did cap rates. Cap rates mirrored interest rates. What's happening with interest rates right now? Hell, it was the third or fourth 75 basis point raise yesterday. Yeah. Right. So, and they're going to continue, although I don't think it's going to fix our problem, but they're going to continue with those interest rate increases. And, people are bemoaning like that San Antonio asset we bought a year ago is 3.2%. This one we're closing on in 2 weeks is 5.2%. The numbers are still fantastic, but it's 5.2%, which is like painful to think about, but that's what it is. And so, cap rates are going to mirror that. They were already mirroring that. And so, again, that's the definition of a bad day if you can't refinance or sell. And I think there's going to be a few of those.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of pain coming. And if you're not prepared for it, if you're not ready for it, then you're just going to get absolutely steamrolled over.
That, and you'll get into survival mode, hunker down mode, fear mode, and you won't be able to maximize the opportunities that are coming. And so, that's why the goal setting is so freaking important. Let me bring one other thing up, if you'll humor me. Okay. I like to talk about an epiphany that I had, because it's really powerful. And, the most powerful emotion we have available to us is gratitude. You can't be fearful and grateful at the same time. So, that's going to be really important what's coming. You can't be scared or angry and grateful at the same time. Gratitude strengthens our immune system. It makes our heart stronger. It lowers our blood pressure, brings us closer to our spirituality. And so use that in what's coming. Have a gratitude journal magic moments. That's one of the things I'll teach you if you come to my goal setting workshop. Gratitude is what attracts what you want into your life. In the morning, I have a morning ritual where I have a recliner in my other office, and I'll just sit there and I'll just do gratitude. I'll be grateful for my supermodel, beautiful wife, which she really is. And like I said, more beautiful on the inside than the outside. My kids, my coaching students, my foundation. I'll just do gratitude, but then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And sometimes I'll get emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet. And I know I lost some of you analytical ones on that, but guys, this is how I had 50 million to make and lose and get back again. So, discount it at your peril is what I will tell you, because it freaking works. Okay. But let me tell you about an epiphany that I had. So, I've done all the stupid stuff, the Lamborghinis and the Rolls Royces and Bentley and all that crap that I thought was important at one time, hundreds of thousands of dollars in watches and just stupid shit that I thought was important. But I built this $8 million mansion on the beach. Okay. It took me 20 years to build it. Extraordinary home. I mean, just extraordinary. I owned the beach on one side. I had my boats on the backside. It's called a Gulf to Bay. It was like a slice through an island. And that was unthinkable when I was 18. But so when you do your goals, take the lid off your brain. But there's a message here. So I worked for that house for 20 years. I mean, there was a giant waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool, big spiral staircase up through the middle. On the second floor, I had aquariums that cost me almost $200,000 that wrapped around the staircase. Give you an idea of the house. So I'm floating in the pool 2 months after I moved in. 2 months. So 20 years I worked for it. 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in the pool and I'm looking up at this testament to my ego. It's really what it was. It was to prove the world I was good enough. And my family's inside sleeping. I had the cars and all the stupid shit I just mentioned, and the boats and the jet skis, and I got depressed. And I don't mean a little bummed. I mean, I was really bummed. And I'm like, what the hell? How could I be depressed? I've just achieved success like times 10,000. And there's a message here. There were several things going on. Number one is you should never achieve a big goal without having other goals lined up behind it. Because like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. You need a vision for the future. And I didn't know what I was going to do next. The next thing is it's never about the goals. You need them to create that burning desire. But happiness comes from progress and growth. And I didn't know how I was going to progress or grow. But the big thing was I was totally focused on Rod. Show the world I'm good enough. Show the world I matter. Rod, Rod, Rod. That's the year I went and saw Tony Robbins for the first time. And I saw that he fed families for the holidays. And I'm like, what a concept. Do something for someone else. I'm embarrassed to say I had to be 40 to get that memo. And so I went home and I called my brother and I said, hey, let's feed 5 families. I was going to go visit him for Thanksgiving in Denver. I was already living in Florida. I was going to visit him in Denver. I said, let's feed 5 families. So he called his church, found 5 families that really needed help. Third family changed my life, Daniel. We go up to this house. We had bought frozen turkeys and roasting pans and big boxes of food, toys for the kids if we knew they had kids. And this woman comes out of this 1-bedroom shithole. I mean, just crappy place. Wasn't even a 1-bedroom. She comes out and she sees the stuff on the porch and she starts crying. Her kids come out. The older ones start crying. Rod starts crying. And I was hooked. And I'm blessed to say in the last 22 years, we fed over 130,000 children here in Sarasota and Bradenton, Florida. We've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies to local kids. We just did 1,800 backpacks about a month ago for school kids. We've done tens of thousands of teddy bears for officers to put in their vehicles and they encounter a child that's been traumatized. Now, I'm not saying this to brag. Here's the message. We've been taught that we should achieve to be happy. Like we can't be happy until we've achieved. But here's the thing. If you give back in any fashion, you are happily achieving. And I know it's a play on words, but it's important. See, Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. Achievement is a science. You want to learn something. You want to learn multifamily. I'll give you the blueprint and the map. You just got to come and you just got to go do it. But fulfillment is an art. You got to find out what juices you. For me, it's kids. Maybe for you, it's the environment or animals or the elderly, whatever it is. Give back right now. Now, if you're listening to this show and you've got blood dripping from your teeth, you want success so bad, don't say you'll do it when you have the money. Do it right now because the money comes faster. That's the way God or the universe works, right? Do you agree with me, Daniel? So
no, 100%. And I actually want to jump in on there. I think, like you said, if you're feeling unfulfilled or depressed or down, I think gratitude and giving are the 2 things that will completely change that. And I speak from experience. Yep. When I was in college, I used to drive to school every day and pray that I would get hit by a car. I was just done with life. I was depressed. Like you, I read a Tony Robbins book and it just talked about gratitude. And instead of going to school praying that, I just started to think of the things I was grateful for. And one morning I just started crying as I was driving to school and I realized how blessed I was. Wow. And then I started to get into it more and I realized I need to start giving more. And I had no money. I could barely afford food. So I started volunteering for Meals on Wheels, and it was in the middle of COVID. So I was delivering meals. This was a few years ago. I was delivering meals to doors of the elderly, and they were just so grateful. And I think if society and people just understood that, I think people would be more happy, more fulfilled, and more loving. And we wouldn't have to approach life from this fear perspective.
Listen, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that. That's beautiful. I will tell you, anything you want in life, you give. You want happiness, you give happiness. You want love, you give love. If you are depressed, you're looking in the mirror. And to get undepressed, you need to look outwardly and focus that love and giving like you did. You just, it's amazing that you were able to do that without
I get emotional whenever, I was getting emotional just hearing you talk about that because
beautiful.
I relate to it so much. And and it, it pains me that some people still feel that. And I love talking about this just because of that, because the pain you feel, I get it, but
Yep.
man, your life gets so much better when you start to give back and you start to appreciate what you have been given.
It's what life is about. Contribution is actually a
Yeah.
basic human need. It's not a want, it's a need. And honestly, anything in this universe that doesn't contribute in some fashion gets eliminated. Contribution is a need. And so, obviously we know depression is rampant here. The medication
Yeah.
for depression it's insane. I believe that contributes to the crazy shootings and whatnot that we have. And if
Yeah.
these people, instead of taking the medication, would just get the lesson we just shared, life could be a lot different.
Oh,
So,
I think so too. I think it's a shame that we medicate instead of
right.
like work through these
You're
things. Like,
working on the symptom instead of the
yeah,
cause. You need to
you
work on the
always
cause.
try for the quick fix, but I mean the
Right.
fix, it's almost always up in your mind. Like take the
Yep.
time to work on yourself, develop yourself. And yeah, I'm glad
Nice.
that we discussed this, and I know we have to start to wrap up. So I'm going to start to bring the final four questions I ask
Okay.
every guest. Before I do, I want to thank you for taking the time. This has been unbelievable. It's such a blessing to have you on. So
Thank you.
thank you, Rod. But the first question is, what's one thing that you would challenge the listeners to do to make a positive impact in their lives today and moving forward?
We just talked about that. Give back in some fashion. Find your passion, something that juices
Yeah.
you. Kids, the environment, the elderly, animals, whatever it is. And I don't care. Like you just donated your time. Do it right now, because your happiness and success will come that much faster. So that's the number one thing for sure.
Yeah, and if I may just write in that, a lot of people will say, I can't give because I don't have the money. The best way to give is your time. That's the most valuable way to give. Giving meals or whatever through money, that's wonderful. I'm not saying it's not, but the true impact is felt when you can see someone and see the impact you have. So
And the
if you
money
can,
will come faster. The money
it
will come
does.
faster.
The more
Trust
you
me.
give, the more you get.
That's it. That's it.
100%. What is your top book recommendation or books?
Well, my love language is gifts, and I was blessed to have the author of the 5 Love Languages on my show, old guy, because I've given away over 1,000 copies of his book. Get that book. If you love anybody, get that book so you can give them love in the way they feel love. But I gift books to my students, and so they get tons of books from me. So let me give you some of them. The Slight Edge, about those decisions you make every day that don't mean much that day, but over time they traject your life up or down. Gary Keller's One Thing. I had Jay Papasan, his co-author, on the show. Great book. Turning Pro. Stop being an amateur. Be a professional. Turning Pro. Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning. I was blessed to have him on the show about how you set up your morning every day to take massive action. For negotiation, Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss. That's a great book. I've had him on the show as well. There's enough. There's a few. Obviously, Think and Grow Rich. I've given away, I'm not exaggerating, over 3,000 copies of Think and Grow Rich. That's a book you should read a couple times a year.
I think you might know Tim Bratz. I was
Very well.
talking to him.
He was in my mastermind. Tim was in my mastermind, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I had him on a couple months ago, and he recommended this book, and he was saying how individuals, you could see or you could tell how much they were worth by how many times they'd read through Think and Grow Rich. So that's actually why I'm holding it up now. I'm reading through it again. I was like, all right, Tim, thanks.
Love it. Like I said, I've given away 3,000 copies. I'm not exaggerating.
I'm not surprised, Rod. It's just unbelievable. And now, where can people learn more about you? Where can they follow up?
Yeah, well, listen, go to rodslinks.com, or if you're driving, text the word links to 72345. Okay, so links to 72345. If you want to come to my boot camp, text my name, Rod, to 72345, and DM me, and you'll get, and you can get on any social channel, and I'll give you a code to come for $97. Now, it's like I said, it's 2 days of training about every aspect of the multifamily business. I don't sell anything there. I wouldn't take your money if you gave it to me. So it's kind of a no-brainer if you're interested in the multifamily business. Drinking through a fire hose, I'm going to tell you that. I've never had a complaint other than the breaks are too short, because I do 15-minute breaks every couple of minutes because I'm trying to pack so much in. So those two things are probably the best. But please get the message to take action right now and get up to speed so you can take advantage of what's coming and build that legacy wealth for yourself and your family.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. And finally, the one question that stumps all my guests: what's one fun fact about you?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I told you, Rod.
A fun fact. Oh God.
See, this is what I love about this question. You're telling us about how you had this $8 million home you had built, and you're laying there, and you're like,
Yeah.
this isn't what fills me,
Well,
and you can't think of something fun.
I get incredible pleasure from delighting my wife. Okay. In fact, if we brought her in here and you asked her what Rod's purpose in life was, she would tell you to make her happy. And it's truth. And so when she's pissed at me, like we got in a big fight last night, Rod screwed up. And I reminded her, what's Rod's purpose in life? Oh, I hate it when you bring that up, but it's the truth. And so she can't stay. How do you stay mad at somebody who lives their life to make you happy? So that's a fun fact. In fact, I'll show you something. I just happen to have it here. Filled up a planner, not a planner, a journal with everything I loved about her. And I literally did a page every single day. Actually, this isn't it. I thought it was, but it looks just like this. And I just wrote what I was grateful for in her and how much what I loved about her every day. And sometimes there were some days I didn't want to write in that damn thing because I was pissed at her. But you can imagine how I showed up in the relationship because I was focused on what I loved about her. And and I gave it to her for her birthday. So you can imagine how well received that was,
Wow. Yeah, no, that's unbelievable. And that's an example, if I may just a minute more, that's an example of things that you might take for granted every day, like your wife or the ability to walk or talk that you have. When you start to appreciate that, it's really, really hard to say, man, my life sucks.
It's impossible to say it when you're grateful, my friend. That's it.
It really is.
It's been a real treat to meet you, brother. I love where you're at with your mindset and everything. I've really enjoyed the great questions you've asked.
Of course. Thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Take care, buddy.
All right. I will try to get this out before. I don't know if you're live.
I'd be really grateful if you could do that, man. I'd super appreciate it. And if you do, I have a huge social media presence. And Matt, I will allow his show on our social. Okay, so if you do, I have a huge social media presence. So if you can do it, just let us know right away when you do, and we'll throw some clips.
October 21st.
No, 15th.
15th, sorry.
Yeah, 15th is the deadline. So the sooner you can, I'd be grateful, brother. Just whatever you could do, man. All right, my friend. Take care. It was great to meet you, brother. Take care, man.
Bye.
All right, see you.